Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join me tonight. This is our YouTube live event. For those of you that are visiting for the first time, I'm so glad that you've come by. It's my goal to inspire you, to interact with you, and of course, try to provide you some tips. That's what I'd love to do, is show you fun and easy ways to make your cards easier. I don't know, we all love beautiful cards, and I've got an array of gorgeous colors for you tonight. I'm going to demonstrate it in one color for you, and I'm going to give you tips, and then I'm going to show you other colors at the end. So make sure you stick with me for the whole video. For those of you that are returning, I'm so glad you've come back to watch. Thank you for being here. Now, this is your first time on a YouTube Live, and you are here live. I want to give you a couple things that you'll need to know. The first is I want to introduce you to Megan. You'll find Megan's name in blue here. She is my virtual YouTube assistant, and she helps moderate the comments because obviously when my head is turned down towards the table and I'm stamping, I can miss a lot of things. So she does a great job of interacting with you and answering your questions in case I should miss them. The other is, in order to chat during the YouTube Live, you must be signed into your YouTube account. That would be your Gmail address. Otherwise, you won't be able to comment. It's not a Lisa rule, it's a YouTube rule. All right, I think that's about it. Keep in mind too, after tonight's live, I will be coming back, and in the video description below, I'll be listing the cutting dimensions and some additional details for you. Don't feel like you've got to sit down and write everything down as I'm talking, so I'll make sure I summarize all that for you, as well as the supplies. I think we're ready. What do you say we get started? Give me a second. I'm going to turn the camera down to the stamp table and get you all focused in. Here we go. I see some first timers and I see some of you returning. It's so great to have you all here. Thanks for joining me. I've got my light on. I'm so used to turning that on first. I'm just going to refresh my iPad really quickly so that I can catch up with you and see what you're seeing, and it helps me to see your comments. We are going to be using just 2 ink pad colors tonight and 1 stamp set. I know you're probably thinking, you're kidding, right? This is the stamp set we're going to be using. It's called More Than Words. And right now, through Sunday, as long as supplies last, this product is going to be available for you to purchase. You're going to find it all part of what we call the Celebration Coordination Promotion. Now, these items here across the top, those dies have coordinated with free celebration product, and they have already sold out. So I can't tell you the urgency enough. If you like what I'm showing you tonight, head over and purchase it on my website at lisastampstudio.com. So here's the More Than Words stamp set that we're going to use, and I'm also going to be featuring this story label punch. All right, so let's get started with this. I've got a piece of pool party cardstock here, and I'm going to be using my small grid paper. This helps to protect my work surface. Love this size, especially if you've got a tight space that you're working in. Maybe you're at a crop or stamping with friends. I find that this works exceptionally well. It covers just a small area, but definitely gives you the protection against staining your work surface. I'm going to be using Pool Party ink. The great thing about Stampin' Up! Products is the color coordination. So our ink pads coordinate with our cardstocks and our markers and our accessories, which makes color matching brainless, super, super easy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Now, I want to point out a couple things about this stamp set. So we're going to be using this big word, wishes, right here. But you may see this little half word thinking, what is this? Well, it's 2-step stamping, which means it's intended to stamp over an existing image in the stamp set. So if you line this up with the Stamparatus, which is the stamp positioning tool, that will line up over the bottom here. That will give you another 3D layered look on top of those words. It's really, really neat. All right, so I'm going to come over here and I am going to take the word wishes. Now you're probably thinking, why is it pink? And that's simply because I have used it in a brighter color before. Photopolymer stamps are clear stamps. They do get stained with usage. It doesn't affect the stamp's performance as well, so don't let that worry you. All right, so I'm going to teach you a couple things. So I'm going to kind of do this a little bit slow so I can walk you through it. We're going to create some depth on this background with 1 greeting and 1 ink pad. So I'm going to start by inking this up, and I think I'm going to move this a little bit off the top here. So I want to make sure it's still in your camera view, but I want to be able to ink and use my hands. I'm going to place the first word here at the top. I better make sure I don't get my fingers in there. And I'm going to press. Now what I want to do now is I want to make that exact same word next to it, but I want it lighter. Because remember, we're trying to create some density to this card. I know that it's already lighter because I stamped the whole word here. So I can go ahead right next to it and I can stamp it again. What's going to happen now is you're going to see two different shades. Now let's go ahead and do that again. And this time I'm going to start on this side and I'm going to use just part of that word, wishes. But here is the most important tip I can give you. Even though we have reduced some of this, we haven't reduced it all. I don't know if this is going to pick it up on the video, but do you see here the word S looks darker than the rest? Let me show you. If I had not stamped off on my paper first before I stamped here, I would have had the S darker than the rest of the word. So I'm going to go ahead and re-ink this again, and I'm going to stamp off on my scratch paper, and now I'm going to fill this in. With photopolymer, it makes it easy for you to align your images. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up again, and I'm going to create more of a background. This time I'm going more towards the center. Do you see how I'm not keeping everything lined up? That's the intent. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp off again, and I'm going to work over here on this side, and I'm going to fill in. And I'm going to do the exact same thing now on this side and fill in over here. I think you guys are getting the idea. The secret to this background is being sure that you are varying the words so that they're not in a perfect pattern, as well as stamping off every other word that you stamp. That's going to give you some density to your card. And you can see how quickly this goes. This only takes seconds. And then we're going to come down here, and then I'm going to ink up and stamp off again. But one ink pad is going to be able to produce several shades of color, and a lot of people don't realize that. I want to make sure I get that on my scratch paper and not on my work surface because that'll transfer to my card. And then we're going to do one more. Well, that one wasn't perfectly straight. Okay, I'm going to chalk that up to the fact that my head is pretty far away. You guys are going to give me a little bit of forgiveness, right? All right, and then we're going to squeeze one more in here, and I'm going to stamp off, and that one's going to come down here. So now we have filled in the background with just a greeting. So simple. All right, I'm going to push that off to the side, and I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, okay? I'm inking up my stamp, and I'm stamping off, and then I'm going to stamp it here. I also want to give you a tip about your ink pads. We all have the habit of stamping right in the center, don't we? But you know what? There's ink all the way around. You're going to find that the center of your ink pad lightens up before every other area because that's where we tend to gravitate to. So make sure that you're moving around if you're looking for the strength of your ink. So the strongest tone of your ink. By traveling, not only do you get equal usage on your ink pad, you're going to help keep you from forming a well in the side of your pad. Now, some of you press really, really hard. You've told me, I'm pressing too hard. Remember, all you have to do is tap and then press firmly when you stamp. Nice, firm, even pressure. All right, I'm going to take this right off camera to my Stampin' Scrub. I've got that off camera. If you use a chamois, that's a wonderful thing. I'm going to go ahead and close this up. We're done with that. And I'm going to switch over now to the Memento Black ink pad. And from that exact same stamp set, I've pulled out the script Birthday. Now I want to show you one thing about this set I absolutely love. First of all, you've got just about every occasion you can think of in one stamp set. And you can build your phrases. So Easter wishes, you have birthday wishes, Christmas wishes, there's New Year's, there's greetings for the inside of your card, and there's some really fun greetings in here too, like this one, because adulting is hard. Who can relate, especially on a Monday? Boy, have I had a day. Great stamp set, something you can use all year round, so it's a really good investment in your stamp studio. So I've got the word birthday here. I'm going to go ahead and ink that up as well. And you see how I'm traveling, right? I'm not trying to stay right to the middle. And I'm going to stamp that here right over the word wishes. All right. I like to tap off my excess ink on my scratch paper. That reduces my trips to have to rinse out my chamois or my Stampin' Scrub. Another great tip for you. If you take as much ink as you can off on your scratch paper, that's going to keep that cleaner a lot longer. All right. I'm going to move this over to the side. And I'm going to bring in that story label punch. Now, some of you have been asking me, is this punch getting carried over into the new catalog in June? And the answer is, I don't know. We've asked Stampin' Up, and they have not told us a firm yes or a firm no. It was a possibility. But you can see it does fit. Now, you may look and think, wow, that's kind of a tight fit. But you know what? It fits. That's all that I care about. And not only does it fit the bigger words, it also fits all your smaller greetings as well. So I'm going to go ahead and punch that out. I'm really in love with this shape because it's not too feminine and it's not too masculine. Those little notched out edges are lots and lots of fun. So I'm going to push that off to the side, and I've got a piece here of basic black cardstock. I'm going to take this and I'm going to layer it over the top. Do you see how narrow that frame is around here? There's only 1/8 of an inch of difference. I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet, and I'm going to flip this upside down, and I'm going to use my snail adhesive to put adhesive on the back. Now, if you don't know about the silicone craft sheet, and maybe you haven't seen my videos before, this is one of my very favorite tools in my stamp room, simply because adhesive will not stick to it. It'll rub right off. It's great for liquid glue and hot glue as well. It'll keep your work surface sticky free, which is really wonderful if you're stamping at a friend's house, boy. It'll keep that table nice and neat. And I find, especially sometimes if I'm a little zealous, I get off the paper and I know then I don't have to fight that sticky spot here on my desk. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a small border of this all the way around, and then I'm just going to press that in place. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a Whisper White card base. Remember, I'm going to put all the cutting dimensions down in the video description below after tonight's YouTube Live. I scored it in half just before you joined me, and I'm going to use my bone folder for that nice crisp edge. I just like that. It just gives me that little sharp edge there. Is it absolutely required? Probably not. But if you're a paper crafter and you do 3D paper crafts, it's a must-have to get those really sharp corners. This layer now is going to get mounted on here. And I'm choosing to add dimensionals to this. So I'm going to flip this over. And again, I'm going to be really generous with these, as I have with prior cards I've made on my videos. And some of you ask me why, and that's because I know that the postage meter at the post office has rollers in it. And if you are not careful to balance out your card, especially with a large piece like this, on the other side, when they get it, guess what happens? It sags. And there's nothing worse than having to put in a little bit of time of making your card, and it comes out looking kind of lopsided, right? My mom is a receiver of my cards, and she's one of my best critics as far as I need more of those dimensionals. So that's how I know that. And then I'm going to center this here. This is going to leave me a little bit larger white margin all the way around. All right, so remember that greeting we had? We've got back to this. I have pulled out this absolutely stunning ribbon, and this is from the glittered Organdy ribbon. This is about 5/8 of an inch. And you may be wondering, is this making a huge mess? Well, look, I'm rubbing and look, there's no glitter. I absolutely love it. Does that mean it doesn't leave some glitter? Yeah, it's glittered, but I like it because it gives a little bit of a pop while still being black. I've got other samples to share with you, so make sure you hang with me. I want to put this in a zigzag fashion behind my greeting just for some visual interest, because I don't want to cover up all of this. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to kind of judge about how long it needs to be. So I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to go this way. That looks about right. I'm going to flip that over because I find that's the easiest way. And then I am grabbing myself a piece of Scotch tape. I have tried everything with this glittered ribbon. Of course, glue dots, dimensionals, that'll all work. But I needed a bunch because you see how much ribbon I have here. I'm going to lay this here, and I'm going to take my Scotch tape, and I'm going to press that down to hold that ribbon in place. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come now with my dimensionals here and here. There's really no sense to put them here. If you want to, you can. I'm going to do it just for posterity reasons, just so we can say we've done it. Just to kind of keep this balance simply for mailing. It really isn't providing a lot of adhesion for the ribbon, simply because the ribbon is layered. So I'm going to go ahead and take off those dimensional backings. And if you ever have trouble getting these little paper backings off the dimensionals, I want to give you a tip about that too. Take your fingernail and press it inside the paper. That's going to help lift that outside edge, making it so much easier for you to take those off. So here's our card base, and I'm going to slip that right here, about halfway, and tack that in place. Now, if you've got an end here like I do, that's a little bit too long. I'm going to come here and give this a little bit of a haircut. And that looks pretty good. Now, my next step on some of my cards, I included some sequins, and I'm going to give a little plug here for Paper Pumpkin in just a second. I decided to use the metallic sequin assortment. They come black, white, copper, gold, and iridescent. Isn't that pretty? And some of you are looking at this going, oh my gosh, you're going to fish all those out. Well, no, I already fished them out before you guys joined me because I figured you didn't want to watch me do that. But I want to talk to you about the Take Your Pick pickup tool. It comes with a cap on both ends. I just took this one off just prior to you joining me. But what this does is it allows you to fish through those sequins with ease. There's a tacky tip here. And look, you see how it picks them up? Perfect. The other thing is it comes with the putty refill, so you don't have to worry about it running out. There's an interchangeable dial tip on this end, so if you turn it, this comes out. You see that little spatula? Boy, is that gunky, huh? Because if I've got those dimensionals in the wrong place, I can come up underneath here and loosen them out and straighten out my card without destroying the whole thing. This has been like my saving grace. If you're wondering how to clean this, use a cotton ball and Goo Gone. Goo Gone is a citrus-based cleaner. It's not harmful, so you don't have to worry about this ruining that little spatula. This slides in, and then, of course, all you have to do is lock it. My paper piercing tool on this end, of course, is great for piercing your paper, but it's also going to help me with my glue dots here in just a second. This also comes with an interchangeable double-sided stylus tool. See, I told you this thing is wonderful, isn't it? Absolutely love that. All right, so I wanted to show you how that works. I've got those few sequins here. The very first thing I do when I use my sequins is I take them and I set them out, because I don't know about you, but there's nothing worse than getting really excited about finishing your card and then they're not quite in the right place. So I'm using that Take Your Pick pickup tool. The other thing about this tool you need to know is it's fairly new. It was introduced in the holiday catalog, so it's not in any of our current publications, but you can find it in my online store at lisasstampstudio.com. It's called Take Your Pick. Now, the current publications right now are the Occasions Catalog and the Annual Catalog. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you're interested in receiving complimentary copies, just leave me a comment below and I'll reply back to get your address. Now, if you're here during the live, you're going to need to email me. All right, I've kind of got these where I want them. Here comes the trick with those paper pumpkin glue dots. They send you more in the paper pumpkin kit every month than you're going to need. Don't throw them away. They are perfect for sequence. And here's why. They are smaller than the glue dots that come on the roll. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you see the size of these compared to these? Smaller. So when you're dealing with these smaller sequins, this is not going to be noticeable. In addition to that, this is fine for these larger sequins, but not for these smaller ones. If you were to pick this up, it's going to get distorted. Do you see? It doesn't keep its circular shape, which really is going to be obtrusive around that sequin. So this is what I like to do. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pick up one of those. They have a paper backing on one side to make it easier for you. And I'm going to place it here. Now I'm going to come in now and I'm going to do the exact same thing on these other two. By placing those sequins out first, I know exactly where they're going to be, which makes it easier for me. Using this tip, I am going to lift and just pull that paper right off because they are small, which is the beauty of why they're so great for your sequins. And then I'm going to come in here using that tool to pick up that sequin and I'm going to place them right on top of those glue dots. So simple. Unless, of course, I don't have the sequin in the right place. There we go. That's good. And those little pieces of paper, we're just going to tap those right off. I'll give those a good push. Paper Pumpkin, if you're wondering, is a monthly craft subscription through Stampin' Up! You can find all the details on my website. Here's one thing that's great about it. You get a stamp set every single month that's exclusive to the kits. You cannot purchase it. You're going to get a new ink color every single month, and you're going to get pre-cut supplies to make a fun project. Sometimes it's a card, sometimes it's a 3D project. We never know. It's always a surprise. And I don't know about you, in a world where there's very few surprises left, I love that about Paper Pumpkin. All my Paper Pumpkin subscribers automatically receive from me an additional bundle of tutorials giving them alternate ideas on how to use their monthly kit. It's just a freebie, my way of saying thank you. Now I've got other cards here to show you using this exact same layout, but just a different color ink pad on the paper. Okay, so this one is Melon Mambo. This is Pool Party. This is Melon Mambo. Same exact thing. Nothing is different here other than the ink pad. I did the same stamping technique here that I did here. Do I have any purple lovers out there? Isn't this beautiful? This is Highland Heather. So we've got Pool Party, Melon Mambo, and Highland Heather. I've got two more. This one's in Calypso Coral. I'm telling you what, they're all beautiful. I don't know which one's my favorite, but I would love to know which one is your favorite. Tell me which color gravitates to you the most. And then last but not least, I've got Smoky Slate, and I specifically wanted to do one that's a bit more masculine. No sequins. I changed up the ribbon. Did you see this? I used the shimmery black ribbon versus the glittered ribbon. Because when I showed this to my husband, he was like, oh, glitter? I was like, well, what do you think of this ribbon? He goes, oh, that ribbon's totally fine. You may think shimmer doesn't work, but you know what? This looks more metallic than it does shimmery. So totally acceptable for the guys. Pool Party, Melon Mambo, Highland Heather, Calypso Coral, and Smoky Slate. All done with one amazing stamp set. And then, of course, I added in the story label punch that I absolutely love. Remember, we do not know if this punch is getting carried over. We definitely know the stamp set is not. So it is only available while supplies last through Sunday, which is March 31st. Now, let me turn the camera around so I can read some of your comments. Okay, I'm back. Did you guys enjoy that? Oh, I'm seeing you're chiming in with your favorites. Highland Heather and Smoky Slate are your favorites. I love reading your comments. Feel free, please, to leave comments below. I come back and read every single one, and I either like it or comment back to you. Your feedback is very, very important to me. I think that's it for tonight. Couple things before we go. First, if you have enjoyed tonight's video, please give it a thumbs up. That's a like here on YouTube. It makes them and I both very, very happy. Share this video with your crafting friends on your other social media platforms. Head over to lisasstampstudio.com. Scroll all the way down and you're going to be able to sign up for my weekly free e-newsletter where I provide an additional tutorial that's not shared on any other platform. It's a no frills email. There's not a bunch of stuff to read in it. You get the tutorial. The other thing is I would love to invite you back to join me. I will be back live right here on YouTube. I'm looking over at my notes on Wednesday, April 10th. Right now, I'm scheduling it for 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I might tweak that to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because the next day I'm flying out to Stampin' Up's semi-annual event called On Stage. It's kind of like a convention. We have lots of fun and get inspired. We're going to be able to see the brand new catalog that will be debuting for you in June. I think that's it. Make sure that you leave those comments below so I have some to read and interact with you. I love knowing a little bit more about you. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.